culture.
Here's what you missed on the Dessie show.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you as well, man. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you, and we have been in contact while you were making the transition.
Yeah. I appreciate you giving me time. I would say time for things to calm down, but you know they didn't calm down. They only got crazier. But at least I now have my foot on solid ground. So thank you for giving me the space to do that, man.
Yeah, it was really dope because I just reached out to you because I thought everything that you were working on was dope anyway. And then as more announcements came, I'm like, oh, it's gonna get better and better. So I'm like, take all the time you need. You might have something to make on the show.
Yeah. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, all good, brother.
So please tell the audience who you are and what you do, and then we're going to take it all the way back to the beginning and go over everything, man.
All right, sounds good. Let's do it. So Detavio Samuels, currently the COO and co-head at Revolt, ultimately responsible for anything that you see that's an expression of the Revolt brand, whether it's marketing, whether it's content, digital, social, all of those things ladder up to me. And then I have a partner on the other side who handles the administrative functions, finance, HR, legal, that type of stuff, and then we share the revenue function. So here, just made a fresh new move from New York to LA. Blessed to be working with the legendary and iconic Sean Diddy Combs, and we are over here trying to make this fight for Black liberation our #1 priority, and enjoying the ride so far, brother.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So take me back to the beginning. I know you're a young guy. You what, 39, 40 somewhere?
That's exactly right, 39, yeah.
Mine as well. So talk about, kind of starting out and your love for whether it be media or music or entertainment, period.
Yeah, so, as a young kid, I grew up in a space where I didn't have a lot of access to the entertainment world. And so I don't even know that I knew that to be a real dream.
Mm-hmm.
It's not until second semester, my senior year in college, that I take my first marketing course. And marketing is the thing that really gets me on this journey. And I fell in love, so my truth is, in college, I was a typical knucklehead, right? I didn't like going to class. I didn't like doing a whole bunch of work. I didn't like reading the books. Marketing was the first time I wanted to read every page. I wanted to go to and I noticed the change inside, right? And so my whole thing is you got to pay attention to what lights your life on fire and chase it. And so marketing lit me on fire. And so I set off on a course that was to be a CMO, was the ultimate goal. And so that's what ends up taking me from I only worked for 2 years and then went to business school. But then once I got out of business school and started doing global marketing, I was like, this isn't the job that I want. Yeah. And so from there, I jumped to the agency side. And that's when I get into content and ideas. That's when I start doing deals with the entertainment world. And then that's when that light turns on, right? It was like, why am I making these 30-second spots that nobody wants to watch? Everybody skipping them and forwarding on their TiVo, right? Back then, does TiVo even exist anymore? Right. So I didn't want the #1 product I was creating to be something that everybody skipped and hated. Right. And so then found some new, worked with Lenny Kravitz, did some really dope work with Beats by Dre, all of that we can get into if you want. But that stuff opens up my eyes into this world of entertainment. And then that's what gets me excited about jumping into this space.
Yeah. So, I have a background in, through the marketing and agency side as well, doing some things, event activations with, for the marketing arm. And currently I'm doing some stuff with Wingstop and things like that. But talk
Sounds like we need to be working together.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We have other similarities as well that I was because I saw the iOne.
Yeah.
So Interactive One, Reach Media, radio.
Yeah.
I also used to be Tom Joyner's assistant.
Oh, word.
Yeah,
oh, wow. What a small world. Okay.
Based in Dallas. And so that's really how this show started. I'm like, I got in radio. I have all these contacts. People so why not build content up?
Yeah.
And, and so in this short period of time, I've already interviewed over 150 guests.
That
Uh,
I saw, yeah, which is dope, and some great names, man.
yeah, for sure. I appreciate that.
You got me in good company. I feel special.
Look, you helping it out as well. You helping. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, so how did you, when you started getting into those marketing and the event activations and things like that, how did you find those contacts, or how did you navigate through? Because I know that's always a part. It's like either you're a connector or you're not. So sometimes they
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, so what's really interesting for me is, and that's one of the things that I need to build while I'm here at Revolt, but I would honestly say that I'm not the connector. Though I'm, in most cases, I am not the true connector to the talent and celebs and influencers. That what happened in my career was I had such an amazing like ride up, and was constantly being put in leadership positions, where maybe I jumped over a few people's heads who thought they needed that position or deserved that position. And so what ends up happening is, in order to make sure that I do not develop a reputation that I'm all about myself and my personal brand and me getting wins, I've really played the background in my career, right? I've really pushed the teams forward. It's not about me, it's about you all. And so I built the teams that have the Rolodex and the networks, and I let them keep those relationships and own it. And in hindsight, I think that's been a problem, meaning the person with the Rolodex, aka Dessie, like that's a huge asset. You know what I mean? And so it's not that I need to take over what the teams are doing, because I only hire people who I want to be giants.
Yeah.
But I do need to do a better job of making sure that I too develop relationships with the talent, so that I'm a phone call away from them. So to be honest, the real answer is the way we get there is,
Yeah.
you know, I have teams that come up with super dope, brilliant ideas, and then I build it with folks who have relationships and access to talent like Dessie, and then that's how we've been able to just roll through the years.
Yeah.
Going forward, I hope that, you know, I can be a first call to a few people going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always remember hearing Steve Stout say, he talked about how as you advance in your career, like in the beginning, things may be 4 or 5 calls away, but
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
as you advance and the people that you've networked and worked with, they advance as well. So now things are 1 or 2 calls away.
That's exactly right.
Any
That's exactly right. I'm definitely sitting squarely in that world, and it's lovely, right? And it's also lovely because my network is very much anchored in Black folks, and so it's beautiful to know that I can pick up the phone. So whereas I would say I haven't been front and center with talent when it comes to advertisers, brands, media agencies, creative agencies, like that's all very much my network. And so yeah, so much easier today to just do deals with advertisers and deals with brands than it was 5 years ago. And I love it. That's the way that it should be, right? We don't need to ask a bunch of people for permission. Desi, you got something, you want to do it? I'm at the top, you at the top. We agree and link hands, and then we rock. So definitely living in that life, and it's an exciting place to be.
Yeah, for sure. So, so I know you mentioned doing some work with Beats. So, what work did you
Yeah.
do over there with them?
Yeah, so Beats was like my first real like bite off into like this world of entertainment and being able to sit squarely in the music I love and the stuff that I love. So before Beats blew up, so we're talking about before T-Mobile acquires them, before
Yeah.
Apple acquires them, we were, I was at Global Hue, which was the #1 multicultural agency in the nation. We were the only folks who could do Black, Latinx, Asian, and all of it multicultural under one roof.
Yeah.
The CMO of Chrysler, so Chrysler went through bankruptcy. This is like 2007, 2008. And the Italians with Fiat come in and buy Chrysler up. In comes this new CMO, this swaggy cat named Olivier Francois, man. And this dude was just so much about big ideas and genius. And it was one of the most freeing spaces I've ever had in my career. And so we needed to come up with a new play for multicultural. And ultimately, we had been watching these young Black and brown kids run around the streets of New York with these different looking headphones that were Beats headphones. So we're able to convince Olivier Francois that you need to do a deal with Beats by Dre and put it into Chrysler vehicles. Now, Chrysler don't just own Chrysler. They own Chrysler, Fiat, Jeep, Dodge. So now all of a sudden, you got this Beats by Dre stuff inside of all of these Chrysler vehicles. Now I have a real product that I can talk to our audience about, right?
Yeah.
And so then the question becomes, how do you promote it? How do you communicate it? Instead of doing commercials, we did what I thought was really innovative at the time, which was product placement. So we would put the vehicles in music videos. So if you go look at some old 50 Cent, Eminem, Carly Rae Jepsen, whatever videos, you'll see these cars showcasing the Beats speakers. But in addition to that, and will.i.am is probably the best example of what we had. Not only would we do the product placement, we would take content from the video and turn it into a 30-second spot for the brand,
Yeah.
right? So now I got product placement, but now I also got a commercial with will.i.am, like
Oh,
representing the brand, right? That's reflective of the music video. Is super innovative at the time, and it really set my heart on fire for like this branded entertainment world.
well, yeah, and Beats always did a good job. So definitely, I
Of
commend
course,
that for the product placement because even now, I feel like Beats has always been a status symbol, whether you think
absolutely.
headphones or not. And Apple is a similar way. It's like whether you might think another phone works better, has a better camera or
That's
whatever,
exactly right.
but when you see the Apple, whether it's on a laptop
That's
or
exactly right.
phone or even the Beats headphones when you're getting on the airport, it's like a status symbol. Like, yeah,
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And so what was so awesome was to have a CMO who got that and saw that.
mhm,
And then you're 100% right about like that Beats team that started, the Omar Johnsons, Karen Civils, like they're beasts. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like they were doing everything right in the beginning. In fact, I learned quite a bit from them just through the partnership. So
yeah,
they did an amazing job of building that brand, was happy to partner with them, and we did some really dope work together.
yeah. And then you mentioned working with Lenny Kravitz. So
Yeah.
about that,
So,
'cause
so
that's
Lenny Kravitz was working on an album. I can't remember what it was called now. This is probably 2013. Lenny Kravitz, or 2012. Lenny Kravitz is working on an album with a whole bunch of new music. What we do is Jeep. We did a deal with Jeep and essentially created a mini movie, a 15-minute movie
mhm,
where Lenny Kravitz and the Jeep were the hero, right? Lenny gets into some stuff and jumps in the Jeep and got to like, jump over rivers and
yeah,
go through the woods and all this stuff to escape. So we were able to showcase and demonstrate the power of Jeep. Anyways, we do this 15-minute movie with Lenny Kravitz where his music is, of course, the soundtrack. And then from there, we pulled out 6 commercial spots. So again, the work is not a commercial that you want to ignore. The work is pretty much a promo for a for a movie trailer, right? That's got Lenny Kravitz music, Lenny Kravitz at the front, but the Jeep brand is front and center and is core and is a hero to the story. That's the type of work I love doing,
mhm.
and that's the type of work I want to keep doing.
Yeah, and it's amazing, just seeing our stories told and our stories told properly. You know,
Yes, 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 yes.
because I recently read your article, Black Enterprise article, or whatever, and I definitely wanted to speak with you about the importance of Black media and being able to
Hmm.
tell our own stories. And I like in there you also mentioned the part about the budget. So many
Hmm.
times, like it is what it is, but like a white agency may have
Hmm.
they may get the deal to do this big branding thing, but they don't have the right people in the room. So therefore, they're trying to promote to general market as well as the
That's right.
urban side, but
That's
they
right.
don't have the right people in the room, and so we're just kind of getting left behind.
That's
Unfortunately.
right. That's right. Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, there's so many places we can go just like with that kind of start. But I think so. There's this really interesting, I always forget whether it's Hindu or Buddhist like analogy, but they talk about like the 6 blind men who interact with the elephant. So 6 blind men walk onto an elephant and they can't see. So they're all trying to figure out what an elephant is, right? One of them grabs the tail and says, "Oh, an elephant is a rope." The other one grabs the trunk and it's like, "Oh, an elephant is a snake." The other one touches the side of the elephant. It's like, oh, the elephant is a wall. The idea is everybody gets something different based on their perspective, right? And the truth for all of us is the elephant is none of that. And it's not until you have all 6 blind men in the room who can talk about the tail, the legs, the side, the trunk, that you can really begin to figure out what the elephant is.
Yeah,
The reason why general market companies get it wrong all of the time is because they're touching one side they're touching the trunk and trying to make a call for the whole thing. And they're
yeah,
not there's not a Dessie in the room who can say, no, 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 no. An elephant is not just a snake. An elephant is all of this, right? So they don't have our view. They don't have our perspective. So specifically as they're trying to tell Black stories,
hmm,
they are incapable of being able to do it because they don't have the right lens. The only way to have the right lens is to put the right people in the room. I talk to brands a lot about what I call the Disney strategy with Black Panther. You
Hmm.
know, Disney had never made a superhero movie before. And why I have respect for them is because they didn't try to do it and they didn't put a white boy or a white woman on top and say, go do Black Panther. They put Ryan Coogler on top. And
Yeah.
guess what? Ryan Coogler brought them all the people they would have never ever thought about. Kendrick Lamar on the soundtrack,
Yeah.
Michael B. Jordan. Think about all these women that people had no clue of now.
Mhm.
Shuri, right? That we now love and
Yeah.
adore. And so the idea is that people have to understand that they have blind spots and
Right.
that you can't do what you need to do if you can't see the whole machine, and you need to bring people in who have the lens. And so, yeah, man, like I spend a lot of time trying to get brands to recognize that, like, you can't just do this on your own or by giving the money to some general market company. And imagine the difference. Imagine if instead of going to one of these white agencies and giving them, you know, a $50 million scope of work, if they went and took that same money and gave it to the agency at Revolt or gave it to Burrell like, we would be able to overnight build, hire the best talent, bring the right people in, right?
Yeah.
That's the fight for Black liberation that we're in right now.
Yeah. And talk about your time over at iOne
Yeah.
and how you got within that company.
Yeah, so that was an incredibly amazing ride over at iOne. I was over at Global Hue, got to know Alfred because Walmart was one of my top clients from the agency side. I was running their business from a Black perspective. He had Urban One, which was one of their top or their number one media partner from a Black perspective. So we were
Yeah.
down there together all the time. And over time, he and I start having conversations. Again, I'm interested in getting away from creating these 30-second spots. Like now I'm probably doing like 30% branded entertainment and 70% typical agency work, like commercials. So I'm interested in jumping out and being able to just be really anchored in the branded entertainment space. And then he was interested in bringing in someone who knew the Walmart business, who knew ideas, who knew how to get the brand solutions, right? That whole agency capability. And so we did dinner one night and I said, look, man, I'll come if you let me build a branded content studio.
Yeah.
And to his credit, he said, "You got it." And
Yeah.
so I came over, and within a few months, built a branded content studio. We launched it as One X Studio. Super dope group of individuals. We probably never won less than 10 awards in a year from the year that we launched.
Yeah.
And so I started out running cross-platform sales and marketing for them. He then gave me the digital publishing business, which again, I'm grateful. I'd never run a digital company. He gave me the space and time to learn how to grow and understand what it takes to run a digital media business. So anyways, the last pieces I'll say in case you have other questions is it was a phenomenal run. We did great work. I think we elevated the brands and the brands within iOne. We built a super dope branded content studio and an award-winning team. And then one of the accomplishments I'm most proud of is most people in digital publishing aren't profitable right now, right? If you go look at Vice and BuzzFeed, none of them are making money.
Hmm.
Well, last year, 2019, we made money, and
Yeah.
this year, even in the midst of a COVID pandemic, they're set up to make money. And so, not only did we elevate the brand and elevate the stuff we did for the culture, we did it in a way that was profitable and healthy for the brand.
Yeah.
So, super proud of that run.
Yeah, and the one thing that I love about companies such as this is that of course we want to be profitable, but the companies also have a soul to them as well. So there are important things that we can't be missing, especially in times like these when it's social unrest and things need to be done. Of course, we want information out, but we can also talk about the action points as well. That was one thing that I loved about working for Tom Joyner is, there was always a party, but there was always a purpose attached
That's right.
to it.
That's right.
We would go on the cruise, the cruise would be a nonstop party, but at the end of the day, a lot of money was donated to the HBCUs,
That's right.
Joyner Foundation. So,
Yeah, that's absolutely right, man. And I'll say that it's been a blessing stepping into Revolt because that soul absolutely exists. You know, I started on June 1st, but I probably really started working the week before, and
yeah,
that's right when George Floyd hits. And so, before I even start, I'm pushing the team to say we got to go all in on this social justice push, right? By the time I start on June 1st, we've gone from 0% social justice content to 100% social justice content. Me not knowing how Puff or whoever is going to respond, like, and push. I was so blessed and relieved to hear that the CEO at the time, Roma, Puff, of course, the chairman of the board, being like, screw advertisers,
Yeah.
screw the revenue, get it right for the culture, get it right for the people. If we get it right for our audience, if we get it right for the culture, the money will come. And so just being inside of a company that had that type of soul and that type of long-term view and allowed us to do what was really right for the culture is such a freeing, amazing experience. And so from day one, I felt blessed to be in the system because it felt right to my spirit.
Yeah, and what was it? The town hall that
Yeah,
that pretty much happened immediately.
that's right.
Yeah, and that was really important to see. And you mentioned earlier being able to pull in people that even if you necessarily don't know everything about it, being able to pull in other people that do. Uh,
That's right.
like with the Ryan Coogler situation,
Yeah, yeah,
like that's really important. Even with my platform, I've been trying to make sure that I've had people that can speak to that. So I may not personally be an activist, but what I
yeah.
can is be an advocate
That's
and
right.
other people opportunities.
That's right.
Like for instance, the election is very important this year, as we all know. So next week, I'm planning to get Jane Hamilton, and she
Mm,
the Joe Biden campaign for Texas. So
mm-hmm,
okay, let me give you this platform. Of course,
mm-hmm.
we're gonna ask some real questions. We're gonna have some real dialogue on what's
Yeah,
going on, but
yeah.
so you can be able to, get this information out to our audience.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And that's what I was going to say. I said I was going to say the other thing you're giving people is just a platform,
Yeah,
right? You've got an audience, you've got a reputation, and the opportunity for people to jump into your platform and speak to audiences that may not have heard their voice before is absolutely a gift you can provide people without having to be, on the front lines in a protest.
absolutely. Because at the end of the day, everyone has their own job.
That's right. That's right.
It's not everyone's job to necessarily be on the
That's right.
lines doing this. There also needs to be some people working the deals
That's right.
and helping fundraise, and it's different aspects of it.
That's
Uh,
right. Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like I love that point because a big thing that we have to figure out, I think, as a culture is that piece, which is we got to let people live in their gifts. We got to let people live in their strengths. I think all too often because we've been shortchanged, we try to take it all. But in that, we're not capable of delivering it all. And then it's short-sighted. In fact, like one of my biggest fears is I'm watching so much money pour into Black Lives Matter. And my biggest fear is these folks don't know who they're giving the money to. They
mm,
don't know who is legit and who's not legit. And
mhm.
what's going to happen is that there's a lot of bad investments because people are taking on more than they can truly take on,
Yeah,
then they won't see a return, and then there won't be more money,
mm,
right? And
yeah,
so what we really need to do is not try to hog it all, but if
yeah,
we get it, cool, build teams, let people play their positions, execute it flawlessly,
yeah.
deliver that return, and then we will continue to get more money and more funding for the cause, right? So I'm 100% with you. You got to let specialists and people play in their lanes.
Yeah, and to that point, I used to work. Martellus Bennett is one of my best friends, and
Mm,
then I used to do some stuff with To back in the day, and
mm,
it was so important that when athletes have these platforms, but they're not always the best people as far as like getting the funds where they need to go. So I would
yeah,
just to clients and things like that. Like, okay, if you're all about this particular cause, then why don't we just fundraise and
that's
then
right.
partner with the foundation that actually
That's
does
right.
work? So
That's
that
right.
have a situation where you raised $1 million and then got in trouble because the $1 million didn't go where it was supposed to go, or was
Exactly right.
bank somewhere not doing
Yeah,
what it's supposed to do.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So now that you're starting to get your footing within Revolt, what are you looking to do, or what are you looking to change? Because I know you have a lot of responsibilities now with.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I would say a couple of things. Let's see. The first piece is anchoring Revolt squarely in this movement. So whereas I said before, where we were maybe 0% social justice, we're never going to be that again. Coming in, and you see me say this in Black Enterprise, You know, and I had conversations with Puff and other people when I was talking to them, and they were saying, what are you going to do with the brand? My explanation every time is the brand is called Revolt. You only set it up to do one thing, right? Lead a revolution. That's it. So social justice is our revolution. We went from 0% social justice content to 100% social justice content. We've now backed down to what I think is going to be our sweet spot, which is more 50% hip hop, 50% social justice. And so, I mean, and as you know, the overlap between hip hop and social justice is so perfect and pure. So anyways, that's the biggest piece, which is we now have a defined enemy. We now have a defined vision. We are in this fight. We want to be a catalyst in the fight for Black liberation, and that is always going to be near and central to the brand. So that's one. The second one is love the fact that we have this linear channel. It really sets us apart from a lot of people who folks might see us as competition, whether there's some of the iOne digital brands or Complex or whoever you might name. We're very much different in the fact that we have this cable network. And so trying to figure out how we use that to our advantage. The third thing is we know that the audience that we have and that we want more of, Gen Y, Gen Z, is very digital and social. So like trying to find that balance between how do we lean into where they live and breathe while appreciating the TV cable network we have, which is an absolute differentiator for everything. So those are a couple of key pieces. The last two that I'll talk about is we really want to be a home. A home for talent, a home for creatives where they can live unapologetically and create content in a manner that is unfiltered. And so, I have this dream that's like almost like the way I think about it is how do we become the bad boy? Apologies for that one. How do we become the bad boy of the video content game, right? Who are the voices that we want to give rise to? If you think about Motown and you're building a label, it's like, what's the Motown sound, right? Like I'm trying to figure out like, what's the Revolt sound and who are the creators and the talent that we want to give a platform to, like you talked about. That's going to be front and center, positioning ourselves as a home for talent, making sure that the talent that we bring in and that the stories we create together help us push and move culture forward. There's a lot of people doing hip hop content that's ratchet, and I'm not saying we're never going to do any of that, but I am saying that our brand is very focused on pushing culture, shaping culture, driving culture, which means we won't live in that space. You know what I mean? We're really looking for, when you look at shows like we have Revolt Black News, right? That is a show that is about moving culture forward, talking about the Black agenda, demonstrating and showcasing folks from across a spectrum of opinions who get to have voice in a way that they don't get voice on CNN and MSN. That's the type of stuff that we're interested in. So hip hop times moving culture forward, right? And so who's the talent? Who are the voices that can help us play that game and do that well is a big piece. And then also just presenting ourselves as a home for creators and creatives just as a company. The hope and the dream is to grow and to build everything that we're doing. And so we want to tell creators who feel stuck at the agencies they're in, who feel stuck at the media companies and the content we want to create a home and a safe space for them to come, play, and do really amazing work that moves the culture forward. So those are a few things that are kind of top of mind on the agenda.
Yeah, and the one thing that I love about Diddy is, and I've been a big fan of Diddy forever and ever and ever, but it's the Black excellence, and I feel like that's part of Andre Harrell. But at the end of the day, it's like we can make money, we can party, but at the end of the day, like it is all about Black excellence at the end of the day, and you don't want to cut corners for that. You know what I'm saying? You want it to look a certain way. You want it to be right. Excuse me, we ain't trying to make a business. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You are nailing my new reality. You know what I mean? And the only way that I can give you an analogy, I did an interview the other day and I said, Puff, similar to John Lewis, we talk about good trouble. Puff is good pressure. Right? Like that pressure to execute at the highest possible standard because you are reflective of not just his brand, but our culture and our community. And the best analogy I can give you is it feels like almost when I was pledging. I pledged Kappa in undergrad. Yeah. And the pledge process, many people have a lot of different feelings about it, but ultimately what I'll say about it is it's one of the only times in your life where people hold you to the highest standard, where you can't mess up, where they are pushing you to be as close to excellent and perfect as possible while revealing to you that you don't even know what you're capable of, right? I talked to my nephew yesterday. He's in the Army. And so he's in his like training, and he's in this moment where they're on him, right? Like they clearly see him as a leader. They clearly see him as good at what he does, but they're on him, applying that pressure to turn a coal into diamond, right? Puff is like pledging or army training, right? It's like, no, this is the system that is going to hold you accountable to giving the best of what you have inside of you as an individual and as an organization. And I haven't been inside of a corporate space that had this high of a standard of excellence in my career. So it's good pressure. It can be challenging, but ultimately, you know that the work that you're going to give to the culture, it's going to pay off.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned college as well, and so my son is 17. He's
Okay.
about to be a senior in high school, but he plays football, and so he had 32 offers, and so I saw that you had went to Stanford and Duke, and so those were two of his offers, but
Okay.
he actually committed to Stanford. So
Okay. Nice.
yeah, so he'll be playing football at Stanford next year.
Nice. Nice.
So just seeing that and knowing, other people that have went through Stanford, especially people of color that have went through Stanford, that's really important because, me and my wife, we were telling them like, yo, like this is a great opportunity,
Yeah.
not only to play football, but
Yeah.
just the education and the
That's
net
right. That's right.
going through Stanford.
That's right. That's right. Did he ever go visit the campus?
No, because of COVID. So we had
Boy.
opportunity to go. We literally could not go on any visits, so we just had to do the virtual visits, and
Man.
yeah, and so
He's gonna love it. He's gonna love it. He's gonna touch down on that campus. I remember being a young black kid, touchdown, looked at the business school. It was a compound, man. Like it's, palm trees, basketball courts, like there's nothing like it.
yeah,
So I'm excited for you, man. Congratulations. That's a big deal. The other thing that Stanford is going to give him is just the symbol, right? And like when you graduated with a Stanford degree, I can remember graduating from or preparing to graduate from Stanford and being in interviews, and people would literally say to me, oh, I know you can do the job because you went to Stanford. Now we just need to figure out if you're a cultural fit.
yeah,
Desi, the secret was I couldn't do the job. I went to business school like 1 year out of college,
yeah,
hadn't learned anything, was learning everything for the first time. But the Stanford stamp of approval, you know what I mean? Like automatically made people say that I get it. It's my first time really understanding again what it means to compete at a different level. And I think at a level that so many of our white peers get to be participate in that we don't always get to do as well.
yeah, and that's honestly that's like one of my big whys, right? So it's to create that legacy for my family as well. Like talk about the historic families within American culture. There are certain last names that you say and they're automatically good. Your last name is Hilton, if your last name Kennedy, like soon as you're born, you're like
That's it.
you
Good.
that
Gold.
set up.
That's right.
And things for my son, and then I have a 4-year-old daughter as well. And it's like, no, I want them to be like, no, my dad is is Dessie, and you know what I'm saying, and
That's
get
right.
doors open because as Black people, we don't always have those opportunities. We have to
That's
all
right.
go up the hard way, unfortunately.
That's exactly right. And I think that's what I'm trying to say, which was going to Stanford was my first taste of when life isn't so hard,
Yeah.
right? When I step in the room and I don't feel like I have to work 10 times as hard as everybody else. Oh, because I have the Stanford stamp, y'all are just accepting it as truth, even though it's really not truth. And then the other thing is like, when I think about my time at Stanford, for example, that we didn't have grades, that there was not one company that could come in and figure out how I performed during my time. Imagine that, brother.
Right.
Like, it's like the stamp is the stamp. You don't know if this dude got an F in finance or an A in finance. Like that type of stuff is freeing, you know what I mean? And then kicking it with my white peers, who I had great relationships with. These cats were like, yo, it's Tuesday, let's fly to Vegas. Party like there's no tomorrow. Come back first flight in the morning. Go work on this startup. Like just being introduced to this life that I had zero exposure to prior to was also really amazing.
Oh yeah, that's really great. I'm definitely excited for him, you know, and I appreciate you giving me that additional insight as well on how it goes. So
Yeah.
yeah, so and talk about the importance of education in, you know, what you do and the culture, because you know there's two sides to it, right? So
Mhm.
some people go the education route and are able to make it work, and then obviously we're dealing with music and entertainment, so some
Mhm.
go just the route of grinding and figuring it out, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, at the end of the day, look, both my parents were educators. My mom, for most of her career, taught middle school, language arts, English. My father, for his entire career, taught English and African American lit. Most of his time at University of Utah, but he spent some time at Prairie View A&M
okay, so
and University of Penn, etc. So education is like core to my belief about what it takes to succeed.
hmm
Even at Stanford, I got my joint degree. I don't talk about it a lot, but I got my MBA and my master's in education at Stanford because I believe so much in the power of education. So as we talk about these like symbols, and I'm saying like Stanford is a symbol that automatically puts you here, I
yeah,
think education is relatively the same. It's not that you can't make it without an education, but that if you have one, your chances of success are so much greater. I also think your chances of running into walls and being able to reset
yeah,
to and then switch into another lane are also much greater. And so, you know, I check people when they talk about like grad school stuff because a lot of people just keep going into grad school. A lot of times people have a dream at 12 that they want to be a lawyer and they just stay on autopilot, and next thing you know they're going to law school and then they hate it at 30. So I tend to check people on the grad school piece of it to make sure you're not wasting money and wasting time and that you're not just on autopilot, but
yeah,
the education gives you that anchor, gives you confidence. Just the idea of doing things like learning critical analysis, learning how to make your son is about to leave Dallas, go to Stanford, and have to figure out how to be a grown up all on his own.
yeah,
That process and being able to do that and doing that with other 18, 19, 20-year-old kids who are figuring it out, like that process, I think is invaluable.
yeah,
You know, one of my favorite quotes is exposure to the next level breeds an intolerance for your current situation.
hmm,
Well, how do you get exposed to the next level? Education. We continue to show you new ideas, new thoughts, new situations, new people you didn't know, right? The more you do that, the more you begin to have a better understanding and a better lens and a better perspective of what's possible, and so that you can shape and create the life that you want to create and manifest.
absolutely. And you know, throughout this conversation, you've definitely been mentioning the importance of networking and just different things like that as well. I also like how you said you push other people out to get credit, because that's one thing that I do like about Diddy as well, is you see him pushing other people forward, and
Mhm.
especially, you know, as he's gotten older as a businessman, and it's like at the end of the day there are opportunities for everybody. It's enough money for us all. It's not like we have to be selfish and only say, okay, well, I'm gonna go take mine and get it over here. Like, no,
Yeah.
spread this out because it is enough for us all.
Yeah, one day people are going to do research, but I'm going to make a bet that the two groups that were responsible for producing the highest volume of black executives are going to be McDonald's and Diddy. You know what I mean? Like he has truly been a training ground and a launching pad for so many black executives,
Yeah,
creatives who are doing dope work. That's actually one of the reasons why I'm also here. Not that I didn't have a career prior, but
yeah,
that Diddy factor is so different. Again, not only because it's a different training ground,
yeah,
but because of what you get exposed to when you're in the ecosystem. The other thing that I'll just say is, yeah, I've always been a fan of like pushing people off to be great.
yeah,
Because I got my start at J&J, at the company I was at, they actually used to give managers bonuses for getting people promoted outside of their teams.
yeah.
So the idea was that your job is not to herd talent, but
Mhm.
to groom giants and then to push them out into the world where they can do more. And so having that training and having that kind of be set as the standard for me at 26, 27, I've always said that young people come to me right now and quit. And I look at them and go, is it your time to go? Sure. Let's talk about the opportunity, right? I'm not here to hoard talent. I'm not here to keep people. I'm here to groom giants and then send them out into the world because we need people in all these seats,
hmm
decision-making seats so that we can do good work together.
Yeah, and that's really great to hear, because you know, and I feel like that as well. Like, you know, your legacy is who you help. It's not, you know, only what you've worked on. It's like how many other people have you put in position.
Bruh. Bruh, people ask me that stuff all the time. What do you want your legacy to be? When you die, what do you want people? I don't want nobody talking about Detavio when I die. I want people talking about the people that I touched, right? The people who trained under me, the people who worked with me. Their stories are my story. Aggregate all the people who have worked for me and done amazing work, tell their stories. That's the only story I need. I don't need people talking about Detavio did this at iOne or at Global Hue or Revolt. I'm not writing my story. My story is being written through all the people that I touch. You know, as a leader, I firmly believe that it's not what happens to you or by you, but through you, right? And so there's a ton of work that I can do in the machine that I'm in that I can do myself. That's not the job. The job is to figure out how to get that dope, amazing, creative work out of the people that you are grooming. So I couldn't agree with you more. My legacy, my story is going to be told through 150 other stories, never mind.
Yeah, and we have that responsibility to push the elevator back down
That's
and
right.
bring the next generation up, you
That's
know.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Another project that I'm currently working on is with Lincoln Stevens, and it's,
Yeah, my man.
yeah, I work with Lincoln on locomotives. So
Okay. Yeah.
familiar with locomotives, you know,
Yeah.
it's a black-owned staffing firm that where we can place people within different
Yeah.
organizations.
Yep.
So I'm part of that project as well. So
Yep, yep. I think it's dope. And I love Lincoln. Shout out to Lincoln. Good brother who's always done good work, specifically in the lane that you're talking about, which is the elevation of young black and brown talent and then trying to position and place them out into the world and into different spaces. And so, yeah, man, shout out to Lincoln. It's great work. I didn't know that you were also working with him on it, but love it, man. It's dope.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Look, I'm one of those people that's kind of behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, that's me too. That's what I'm telling you. I'm always behind the scenes, baby. I don't need to be front and center.
Yeah, and then the thing that I'm starting to get involved with is esports as well because
Oh yeah.
esports are really really big. Danny Martin is a partner of mine that we're working on a lot of things together. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, and so you know, esports is the future, just the same way that podcasting is the future as well. So,
Yeah.
and I try to be an early adopter to get in and figure out because
Yeah.
you will also need, you know, in the pop culture lane or the hip hop lane or
Yeah.
whatever, you know, if we can be some of those people that understand what's going to happen next,
Of
then
course.
in the middle of that and can kind of help guide it, you know,
Yeah, of course. Well, keep me posted on what you're doing on the esports side. I definitely see an opportunity for revolt there, meaning gaming and hip hop are very much intertwined today. I think I saw one of my boys join, Amari, who's big in the esports and electronic gaming space. And so, anyways, keep me posted. It's definitely a place that we are looking to explore going forward because
yeah,
we know that the culture and the audience, it's a place that they love. And so we're going to try to figure out how to jump in there with
yeah,
it.
yeah, I'll send you some information about that once we jump off. I'll email you some things.
Sounds good.
Right now, we have the same way that the NBA has a developmental league.
Hmm.
We have a developmental
For esports,
that's going
interesting.
pros because you know so many NBA teams have gaming teams in the Pro 2K league, and
Yeah,
we have the same thing kind of developed as well. And
that's
so
interesting.
yeah, so go
What's
ahead.
interesting for me there would be those people who you think have the highest potential to then jump to the next level. So
Yeah,
the same way you want to be early, we want to be early on like the emerging whatever front, emerging artists,
hmm
emerging gamers. Like it has to be a gift if you're going to be in the game that we're in hip hop and with Diddy. You have to have a reputation for being able to spot things early, and
yeah,
so that could be a place that we work together and explore
yeah.
together.
Yeah, then we should definitely talk about it because what I'm helping them do is also identify that talent, but
Yeah,
also smooth out some of those edges around them as well. Like, okay, this guy has the personality.
a little more polish.
Yes, because right now
Yeah.
in this league, it's a 6 weeks league and then a championship. It's 4 teams, and so people have drove from Pensacola, Florida, from
Mm,
San Antonio to Houston,
mm,
all the way to Dallas,
mm.
to play in this league for you know these 7 weeks or whatever. So
Yeah.
like, okay, there are stories within this space. So
Yeah,
let's figure out how to tell the stories of the person
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
things. So that's what I'm looking to help them build. And I'm also going to be launching a podcast within the esports space and talking to leaders in esports as well. So
Dope.
my eventually build a podcast network, because if you look at the way Tom Joyner, the Tom Joyner Morning Show was like the cornerstone of Reach
Hmm.
Media, and
Hmm.
then and it did the deal with Radio One. Like I want
Hmm.
to have my show be the cornerstone of a larger
Got
network.
it. And build around you. Got,
Yeah,
yeah, it makes all the sense in the world.
yeah,
Like Issa Rae said, we cheering for everybody black. As a human, I'm cheering for everybody black. At Revolt, we're cheering for everybody black. So you just keep me posted and let me know how we can help you in your endeavors, brother.
yeah. And are y'all looking to get into podcasting or anything like that? I know y'all have, some of the shows are
Yeah,
like, I Love Noriega,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I know Noriega has his show, and that's a dope concept that he has the podcast, but then it's
That's
also
right.
on Revolt TV as well.
That's
So
right. So that's where we're living, right? So you've got stuff like Drink Champs, which was audio first, and we're taking it to linear. Revolt Black News right now exists as a podcast. Revolt Summit, if anybody saw that last year, which absolutely like made waves within the culture, exists right now as a podcast on Spotify and iTunes. And so I think kind of, we're defining our podcast strategy, but right now I would say it's very much about curation,
mm-hmm.
and that it's not necessarily about, for us today, about scale and getting 50 folks, but maybe more about getting 5 quality stories, like the Revolt Summit being a quality story, Revolt Black News being quality stories that nobody is hearing and nobody is doing right now. But we'll see as we're kind of looking into our business planning in the back half of the year if we're going to do a bunch more with podcasts or no.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
we definitely see it as a not a training ground, but as a ground to source talent
yeah.
that can then be pushed to video without question.
Well, yeah. Well, I'd love to have the conversation with you all about that as well, because that's the thing that I'm doing next with my particular show is
Gotcha.
some kind of partner with it. So I've been
Yeah.
speaking to a couple of companies about that being the next step, because
Yeah.
at some point, as the world opens back up, I want to do more of these conversations in person and with video and things
Yeah.
like that, because as of now, it's one way that you can do it, and going live and then editing it up and having
Yeah.
clips, things like that. That's one
Yeah.
thing. But then podcasting and doing them in person is a whole nother way. Kind of like how Joe Budden, he has the show, but then he
Yeah.
also has
Pull up.
pull up. So
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
I'm looking at as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the wave. I think I'm watching my favorite podcast get ready to do some of those. It's by my boy Darius. He's got a podcast called Wild Black that is absolutely dope. It's getting on so much steam, and so excited to watch him see how he pushes the video. But I think that's the strategy, right? You
Yeah.
build your audience. Podcast is inexpensive. You build an audience, do dope work, get a solid following, see if you can push the video for the next step.
Yeah, man. And my brother, I really appreciate you for taking the time today.
Yeah, man.
At first, I thought this was going to be 15, 20 minutes, but then I saw that you told your assistant to clear 60 minutes. So I was super excited when I saw that email come through. So yeah, I really appreciate you, man.
All good, love brother. I got time. I got time for the culture. I got time for people who are doing great work. Thank you for introducing me to your work. Once you reached out, I was able to go in and see all of the amazing interviews you had done with like really great talent and really great names. And so celebrating the work that you're doing, celebrating the work that you're doing for the culture. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to meet your audience, right? And give me a platform to talk about the great work that the folks at Revolt are doing. And I'm looking forward to building with you going forward, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to, the next era of Revolt and
Yeah.
forefront of that. So
Yeah, man. Y'all watch out. Only reason we getting messed up is because we need more money. We need these advertisers to get off this dough and and fund us. Back to that conversation around what if we got the budgets that other people had. Like,
Uh-huh.
there's so much amazing content that is out there right now. There's black and brown creators in the hip hop world are doing amazing things, have dreams to do amazing things. There's no limit to the amount of projects that I could fund if I had the budget. So the only thing standing in our way right now is the funding. And to be honest, that's not going to be an excuse. I don't know if you pledge, but excuses are tools of the incompetent, right? So that's not where it's going to land. It would just make the job a little easier.
Right. And that's the thing.
Right.
That's what the pandemic has shown. Unfortunately, there have been, a lot of deaths and things like that. But, at the end of the day, it's like, how do we pivot? And
That's right.
it's like creators go create, hustlers
That's
go
right.
always figure it out, no
That's
matter.
right. That's right. That's right. And our group specifically is used to making $1 out of 15 cents. Imagine if you gave them $1, bruh. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can see it. Issa Rae, Ryan Coogler. Like, imagine if you gave us $1 instead of, we're not even getting 15 cents. We're really getting 2 cents, right? Black media gets 2% of the ad spend, right? We get 2 cents and we make it into $1. What if you gave me $1? What if you gave me $2, right? But we coming for them. We gonna hold their feet to the fire. We're gonna find the people who are serious about the black community, who are serious about hip hop culture. We're gonna
Yeah.
partner with them and do some really dope work for all of us.
Yeah, and then last thing also,
Yes, sir.
if there's anything that I can do on my side, please let me know. I definitely want to support. I got you.
Thank you, brother.
And then also just understanding that, like, I've been watching a lot of like Black Panther, old interviews and documentaries, and the same with the Nation of Islam. I feel like we need more plans of action. Like,
Yeah.
when you talk about like the Tuesday that nobody was supposed to post on social media or whatever, like it was so unclear. Like, everybody was clear, like, okay, do I post? Okay, do I post information?
Right.
Like,
Right.
which way do I take it? So
Right.
I think that that's so important. Like, the Black Panthers came in with 10 points. You knew what the 10 points were. Everybody knew what the 10 points were. And then we got,
We
got
move.
move. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So here for all of that. Which brings me back to Revolt Black News, because two of the key tenets are solutions. Like, yes, we're going to talk about the problems, but everyone is talking about the problems now. We got to figure out the solutions. And then the second piece that is a key tenet to Revolt Black News is we believe our audience is intelligent enough to figure out what they believe to be the truth. And so we are going to show them what the Black Panthers say. We're going to show them what the Nation of Islam is saying. We're going to show them what, maybe Michael Todd or TD Jakes. Like, we're going to show them what all of these people from all walks of life are saying, and arm them with the information to make intelligent decisions for themselves and their families and how they want to play the game. And so 100% behind you in terms of what you're thinking. And those thoughts are so core to at least the content we're making for Revolt Black News.
Man, that's great. That's great to hear, man. And I really appreciate you having this conversation with me. And I'll get this chopped up and edited up, and I'll be sending the some of the clips as well.
That sounds perfect, brother. Appreciate you, man. Much love to everybody join. I saw some family from iOne and Urban One joining here. Bobby Penn, who was with me at iOne and is now with me at Revolt. So anyway, just want to say much love to the people who jumped into the interview today. Appreciate you, Black man. Let me know if there's anything I can ever do to help.
Absolutely, man. You have a great day, my brother.
All right, brother. Respect.
Peace.